Hey, I'm Liamith,
My name is Jay, and welcome back to the Medical Frontier podcast.
where we talk about today's inventions, which are tomorrow's standard of care.
Yeah, so in this episode, we wanted to talk about mental health and discuss more about that a little bit since it's a huge problem that's been going on not only in the United States but in the entire world. Speaking of which, I think 1 in 5 people, I think that's what we read, right, Liamith?
Right.
1 in 5 people in the United States live with some
Mhm.
type of mental health disorder, and 1 in 4 of those cases are actually diagnosable. So it's a huge problem that a lot of people are facing, and there's a lot that we can talk about and dig into to figure out what people are doing to help manage those disorders.
Right. And when we look at mental health in general, right? So the first thing I think we need to look into, like as we said previously, with pre-existing conditions or things that are a result of daily life, like obesity, for example, these these mental health issues typically occur if they're not of course, genetic result. They are typically used to the type of lifestyle that one is living, right? And I think the job that the individual is working, right? Their satisfaction with that, their satisfaction with their home life, all these different things do affect our emotions. And over time, our emotions can get confusing and our emotions can get overwhelming. Um, and another thing is that our physical health definitely does play a role in our mental health as well. And I think that's something that's very closely associated that isn't discussed as much as it should be, right? Because we can see, I mean, it's not causation, but correlation that one who's more active with outside and goes outside more is going to have a significantly, like it's chemically proven too, right? With what type of receptors are, released and whatnot, endorphins and all that fun stuff when you go outside and when you experience nature. And yeah, I think there's just a lot to cover here. And
There's a lot.
you want to talk more on your thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you brought up a really good point about, like the day-to-day activities that people do and how, it really affects their mental health and how physically active you are can also affect that. And I think that, like the way the world is changing nowadays with people, working more, like not having enough
Right.
time for their like daily or hobbies that they enjoy to do. I think those factors are only making it worse on people. It's
Hmm.
adding more stress, first of all, and I'm not only talking about, adults too. I'm talking about even kids, like even middle school children, high school kids, people going to college, like all that added stress of, getting your assignments done on time. I'm not saying those aren't important. Those are obviously very important, but,
Right.
having that healthy balance between, getting all your work done and trying to also find time to do stuff that you really enjoy and can, free your mind with. So for example, I love just going outside, playing basketball, just getting some shots up. Just activities like that that you enjoy. It could be as simple as, taking a few deep breaths between, getting assignments done and just taking a walk outside. So just, like it's a lot of simple things that you do can really affect the way that your mental health is. And the biggest point is that we need to find a balance to be able to do those activities.
Right. And I think another thing is like with you saying like all these simple things are, they benefit us and they help our mental health. I think that one thing that we failed to address so far is the fact that it's a real issue and it can affect your physical health. It's not fake. It's not a fraud. It's proven and it can affect you and it can create conditions for you and it can create obesity. It can lead to an increased risk of heart disease, diabetes, and it can also, for example, if you have anxiety and you don't cope with it and you don't deal with it in the proper way, you could potentially lose sleep, right? Obviously, I'm talking about like a specific situation, but there's many others that I could go more into and say that. And I think another great thing that you brought up is I think both in from what we know, right, as being kids and being in high school and having had that transition from high school to college to just understanding how stressful that time period is and that time period in high school, right? That time period in college where we're preparing for medical school. Like there's so many routes, like even if you go pre-law, for example, there's that you apply to law school, right? And it's just additional stress. And it also, I think it depends in the environment you put yourself in and the environment of the people around you, right? because I mean, from my personal experience, I've previously been in very, very competitive environments, very toxic, terrible environments. And I found myself thriving more in an environment where it was more supportive and encouraging and let's both succeed together, then I'm going to succeed more than you. And I think that's another thing that just as people we can do in creating the communities around us, right?
Yeah.
Even if mental health doesn't affect you directly and you're not dealing with mental health issues, you can do something for the person next to you by being a kind person and not, putting and being judgy and putting all this negative energy into the air that we just don't need. We have enough issues going on in our society, like with all these health crises, and you don't know how that can impact somebody, right? That could literally change somebody's life. That could change somebody's day. That could change the trajectory of their life. So why not give it a shot? So yeah.
Exactly. So that's a good thing I wanted to mention too. So normally on this channel, you guys are probably familiar with us talking about like medical technology, like actual physical advancements that have been going on in the medical field. But something Liam and I were thinking about is that it's not always just about technology, like physical machines that can improve lives for us. It's also actions that we do, like Liamith, as you were saying, just trying to spread positivity, being nice to the people around you, trying to just do anything to make someone else's day better. Because, like you said, it really could change someone's day, the rest of the outlook of their lives. Because you never know what someone else is going through, what position they're in, before you can step in their shoes and realize what they're going through. So, always just like being the right person for everyone is always the right thing to do. And if more people realize that, we could definitely cut down on a lot of these mental health problems, and hopefully not have to deal with the stuff that we're dealing with right now. And I know that it's always going to increase and whatnot, but doing the right thing in what we can and having the knowledge to do so is was one of the best actions that we could take as individuals to helping our society be better for everyone.
Yeah, 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 I completely agree. And I think this all stems back to stress, right? Like this all comes from a point of am I doing enough? These people don't like me. All these different things. Like how does that affect your day-to-day life? And I think it's good to, like you said, like I think for you, you said like basketball like is a huge thing and putting shots up, right? And I think for me, it would be football and going out to the field and running routes. And I think what's good about that, and even video games for some people, I mean, that's not as looked upon just because of the fact it's way better to go outside than not. But I think putting yourself in a different reality, in a different universe, and being able to obviously you have to deal with your problems, and I'm not saying any of that, but like
Mhm.
just the things you have to do, right? Like suppose I have a assignment to do, I have a page like an essay to do, I'm sure like you're the same way. Like you go to the court and all like everything is just putting the ball in the hoop. That's all that matters at that point, right? And when you're able to focus on something and put all your energy into something, you're conserving that rest of your energy so you can put your all in there too. Because like it's just like common sense. Like if I'm constantly worrying about something, I'm wasting so much energy worrying about that one thing. And then I'm not going to be able to put it like my all because I've just been thinking about it for so long. If I just have two different sets of reality, right? Like for me personally, I like was thinking about like being stressed, like going into college again, like sophomore year, like harder classes. Let's see how like
Definitely.
medical school, like it's stressful, right? But then I'm like, okay, like if I worry about it, that's not gonna do anything. Cause I was like confused for myself. Cause I was like, why am I not like being more scared like going into sophomore year? I'm like, no, this is a good thing. Like there's a difference between being prepared and being scared, right? So you need to always be prepared. Like you can't slack off, but you can't put yourself in a situation where you're overly anxious about so many different things. And I think the best way to do that is pushing yourself and giving yourself another reality. And I think I would encourage all of you guys who are listening to do that as well and go out and find something that you like doing, find something that'll get you in your zone because when you find that, dude, like it's so, so helpful. Like no matter what's gone in my life, I've always been able to go back and play football and be okay with everything, right? It's
Yeah.
always been an outlet for me. And I think finding that outlet is gonna help you long term too. Like, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and another thing is that people fail to realize that, or a lot of people only think that physical things can be detriments to your life. Like physical, like injuries or stuff like that can be the most detrimental things that can happen to you. But mental is also a huge thing. If not, I feel like mental can even be um, more detrimental to your life if something goes wrong than physical. I'm not saying physical is not going to do anything, but I feel like mental is like, it's just a block for your mind. It's just, whatever you want to do, you're not going to have the energy to do that. If you're not going to have the energy to do what you want to do, you're not going to, have a path for yourself, what you want to do in the future. It's just something that can derail you completely. So having the knowledge to recognize something and trying to find help the minute you need it is something that's really important as well. And like you were saying, how like the simple things you can do, like doing football, or you brought up another great point about, you thinking to yourself, like not being stressed enough for sophomore year coming up. Like
Right.
I feel like there's a huge expectation for you too now to be like, you should kind of be stressed for things. You should, if you're not stressed for things, you're being a little too laid back on stuff. Like, and then you start wondering if you're really doing enough, if you're, I don't know, if you're competitive enough, or
Yeah.
if you're falling behind and others are getting ahead of you. It's just always, like something that's going on in your mind that you can't stop. But having the ability to stop that is really important. And the best ways to be doing that is to find your hobbies and find the right people around you, like we were saying, to help you combat those.
Yeah, and it's like when you're also anxious, and as I was talking about that previously, there's literally like any situation you put yourself in. Like I slowly realized this. If you're confident in your abilities, that's the best you're going to perform. That is the best you're going to perform at whatever you're doing, whether it be a sport, whether it be writing an essay, whether it be public speaking. If you're confident, you're going to do the best of your capabilities. You're going to reach your potential. If you're not confident, and if you're scared, and if you're anxious, and maybe you don't say one word, maybe you don't, then you're like, oh, what if? What if? What if
Mhm.
this is not? Obviously, don't like go unprepared and like be confident, but like again, be prepared, not scared. Wow,
Exactly.
I should put that on a poster. Be
Exactly. Be
prepared,
prepared, not
not
scared.
scared.
Be prepared, not scared. That's a great way to
Uh,
say it. And it kind of reminds me of have you heard of the Yerkes-Dodson law? I think we learned about that in like psychology, where people perform like your optimal level when you're moderately aroused. So you're not overly aroused, meaning you're like stressed, you're jittery, like you don't know what to do next, or you're completely laid back, like you have no sense of direction as to what you
right.
want to do. So having that middle point, so
Yeah.
having that perfect balance again is the best
Yeah.
course of action to take.
Yeah. I think in everything that we've talked about in this channel, I think one word that has always stuck out and that it could prevent any of these conditions, prevent any mental health issues is balance. And I think you like something that I think we need to continue to emphasize, like again, like you said, like where there was that middle ground where you're performing the most optimally. Like that's so important and that's so crucial to not be one way or the other because like for me personally, I think my freshman year of college, I was way one-sided of the spectrum. And I think now looking back, I need to ease up a little bit because I feel like there's, you're also like, it's not just like your anxiety or your like mental health in that current moment. Afterwards, what are you going to look back on that period of your life? Because that's what happened to me. I was so focused. I was so locked in. I would do nothing else, right? And I was
Mhm.
like very not opposed to having fun, but I put it in the back burner. But
Mhm.
after that, now I look back on my freshman year and I only have one freshman year in college. I only have one sophomore year in college. I don't have the time to go back. If my kids come up to me and ask, "Oh, like what was your freshman year of college?" Like, am I gonna tell them, "Oh, I sat and I studied in a dorm?"
Yeah,
Like that's where you have to live life, and that's again that balance is a huge, 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 huge thing.
huge
Like
thing.
it's
Yeah,
such an important thing, and you can't emphasize it enough in any aspect of your life. Like whether it be even if you like go to the gym, there's like signs that you can't. There's rest days for a reason. There are
exactly.
rest days for a reason. That's just
Mhm.
another example. Like there's bye weeks in the NFL season for a reason. Like you need to
Exactly.
have a gap. There's an off season for every sport. Why?
Mhm.
Like are they crazy? No, because you need to have balance because your body needs to recover. Like we're human and the way that we work is not overwork ourselves. Like that's
Exactly.
just gonna decrease our efficiency. And
Exactly.
um yeah. I think sleep also. Sleep is a huge, huge thing that affects
Sleep
all of
is a
this.
huge thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we talk about things like balance and when you're doing one activity over another, so when we're talking about balance, like let's I don't know, let's take, college as an example. So
Right.
let's say you're studying for an exam coming up, but then you're getting a little stressed, so you want to take a break. And let's say you want to go out and have some fun with friends. So it can also be really easy sometimes to, fall too much into one of the sides of things. So, if you're
So
having fun with
easy.
friends, it's very easy to just, be like, oh, maybe like an hour more, 2 hours more, I can hang out. I can study for that test. It's in 2 days anyways. I got tomorrow night to study for. It's very, very easy to just fall into that trap. But I can't emphasize enough that having a schedule for yourself or having that balance again, that same word coming up over and over again, having that balance is very essential. But the main takeaway is that it can be really easy to fall into one side of the thing. So it's important to set limits for yourself and not only set upper boundaries but also lower boundaries as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also like the way that these again we said the balance. I think one thing that we also fail to mention, there's just so many things affecting mental health that you can't cover it all, but food and diet, that
Mm,
probably has been one of the most overlooked things. But if I consciously like decide to eat healthy, like I feel my mood in a different way. And
yeah,
it's like I don't it's just the way it is. Like I don't know all the science behind it, but the healthier diet you have, and obviously there's that needs to be that balance, but if you have that healthy diet every once in a while, like you will feel good those days, like opposed to eating like McDonald's or Zaxby's. No hate to those, but um, yeah, 'cause also like your mental health is your brain. It's your decision making, it's your memory, it's like everything. Like I don't like this is why also like I don't know if you've heard this, but whenever you're studying for a test, you're not supposed to study up until the test. You're supposed to give it
yeah,
the gap because that
yeah,
gap is supposed to help you retain that information because otherwise you're just putting anxiety into your brain instead of
exactly.
memorizing whatever's information or contents on the test.
Mhm.
So again, like your brain affects every aspect of your life, whether you would like it or not. It's literally like besides the heart, one of the most important organs. I'm right, right? Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. To be honest, I would even say the most important organ is the brain. Obviously,
Yeah.
like all the organs, they need each other to, sustain a human being. But I would definitely say the brain is up there as to maybe even being the most important.
Right. Because everything gets affected by it. Like the
Exactly.
decision if I choose to eat an apple or a banana is because of my brain. Like it's
Exactly.
crazy. Like everything is just neck up. Like my hands moving is my brain. Like that, I can only do that because of my brain.
Yeah, you
Like
talking, me understanding right now, brain.
that's
Setting up
it
this whole Zoom meeting, brain, everything.
gives us our lives.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
gives us our lives. So if it's not in a healthy state, your life quality is just more likely to not be what you want it to be.
Exactly.
And you need to ha like optimize that because you only have one life. That was
Mhm.
so cliche. That was so cliche. That was so
No,
cliche.
but it's real though. Like, and the things they do for fun, like for pleasure, like it might always not be the right thing, but sometimes you do need those things, and sometimes just having that balance. And even when you're talking about diet, like food, they say like the food pyramid. Have you heard of that? The food pyramid, or like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
the FDA food plate. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, yeah.
Like where you have to have like a certain like ratio of fruits and vegetables and carbs and proteins. Even that is out of balance. So everything that you think of that can possibly affect your physical health, your mental health is just all about having the right ratio of things.
We sound like Thanos right now.
Yeah, just
It's per
collecting the Infinity Stones.
balance, perfect as all things should be.
Yeah,
No, but yeah, I completely agree with what you said. And I mean, there's like so much more that we can go into. And I think that I think if we're gonna leave this message, because this is an atypical episode. This isn't one where we're not talking about medical technology. We're just two
yeah,
kids talking about mental health and about how it affects you and things you can do to prevent it or prevent poor mental health for that matter.
mhm,
I think one thing or two things that we're gonna leave you guys with as we wrap up this episode is one, find an outlet. find an outlet, whether it be a sport, it be talking to your friends, it can be dancing, it can be singing, it can be whatever. But find that outlet for you and make it accessible. Like it can't be like my outlet's the arcade. You can't go to the arcade every day. It needs to be accessible, like realistic and reliable. Something that's always going to be there for you no matter what you're going through, no matter who's in your life, no matter what your grades are. That thing will help you get through life so much easier. And I'm not exaggerating this. It genuinely changes your life if you find that outlet. Secondly, make the community around you positive. Make that impact positive. Set up those around you, even if mental health is not affecting you. What you can do is you can be the change and you can start that community and you can start that environment that people feel welcome, that people feel supported, that people feel encouraged. Because you don't know, but something that we fail to touch on, and I really don't really want to go into the dark side of mental health, but it can affect people's life and it can take
Yeah.
people's lives, right? And
Sure.
you don't know that your community in that environment that you're impacting could potentially save somebody's life. So you doing that just affects so many more people than you know. Just one compliment a day, like one positive, like, hey, how are you doing? Like a text message to your friend. Like you don't know what you're dealing with or they're
Mhm.
dealing with, right? So just those two things, find an outlet and be the change and be positive.
Exactly.
That's my those are my two lasting statements.
Yeah. And another thing I can add to that is always like seek help too. Like always seek adults,
Mhm.
always seek, if things do get really rough and you don't know how to, go about things, always do seek that medical
Right.
help too, or, a trusted adult or some, like a peer that you have, or like maybe a professor, your
I
parents.
mean, there's
Um,
even the suicide prevention hotline. I think
yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
leave it in the description, but
Mhm.
it's very accessible and it you don't have to potentially be in a life or death situation for you to be able to just want to talk to somebody. I mean, they're a great source and they're very understanding. So it's a great source that I think if you guys just need somebody to talk to. Also, like our Instagrams are very much connected to our platform. If you guys want to reach out through out there, we're open to DMs. I mean, you are, right? I just
Definitely.
said that
Yeah.
without, yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
No, but
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah, we're open to talking to you guys too. Just reach out. I mean, the worst thing to do is handle these battles alone, and
Mhm.
that can be daunting, that can be overwhelming. I mean, saying it from experience, like, because I've dealt with mental health in the past, I think that relying on those around you and having a support system that really, really changes it and it makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's yeah. Just reach out, guys. Reach out to those
Mhm.
around you. Reach out.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot more we can unpack in this episode, but I feel like we did a good job covering, the main strategies you could do, the main types of things that people face, what ways we can help prevent it, make our community a better place. And to be honest, I learned a lot doing research for this video. And Liamith, I assume you did too. And we had a great
Right,
time
yeah.
talking to you guys and discussing this topic. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed this atypical episode. Please let us know if you want more of these episodes like this, where maybe we just talk about the social cultural effects of things and whatnot and deviate here and there. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Um, anything left to
yeah.
say?
Exactly. And if you guys have any other suggestions for us, any new technologies that you want us to discuss, just drop those in the comments and we'll be happy to get those out to you. Thank you guys.
All right, see y'all.